Hello, and welcome to the third episode of our brand spanking new podcast, Talking to Introverts. My name is Sami Blackford, and my co host is.
Denise, Oliver, good morning,
Good morning.
afternoon,
Um,
evening, wherever you are, whenever you listen to this.
that's the thing you have to remember, isn't it, when you're doing these things? Just because we're talking in the morning doesn't mean that's when people are hearing this. So in our last episode, if you listened to that, you might remember that we talked about what it's like to be an introvert in business and running your own business as an introvert. So we're kind of like carrying on that theme a little bit this episode and talking about marketing and sharing your business as an introvert. It's kind of like the elephant in the room, isn't it? When we talk about business, we might all love what we do in our businesses, but then we have to talk to other people about it. So, Denise, come on, tell us how you find sharing your business as an introvert.
Oh my word, I'd rather stay in bed and tuck the duvet over my head. It's an interesting one, and I think until I recognise the difference between how an introvert is in business and how an extrovert is likely to be, I couldn't actually like fully engage with my business. It's like, what does it mean to get your business out there? Out there, I don't do out there. I'm an introvert. I do in here. I stay where I am. And I guess the world of online has started to change so much of that. Yeah, during COVID, post COVID, and yet there is that need for that social interaction for your business. You've
Mm,
got to talk about your business on its behalf, whether you like it or whether you don't. And I do see more and more, and I know you do too, Sami, there's a lot more being talked about being an introvert now. You've only got to go on YouTube, and there's all sorts of weird and wonderful things happening around being an introvert now. So, from my point of view, this whole this whole being an introvert and talking about my business, I was still identifying my business as being an introvert as well. And
mm,
so I was struggling to both talk about myself and my business because of that introvert nature. It was I was stifling myself because I was trying to do it as an extrovert, and I'm really not an extrovert. And yeah, there are so many ways we can market our businesses, and social media is one way. Obviously, meeting in person is another way. And yeah, we've talked a lot about networking and the horrors
mm.
of it for us.
Well, I was just thinking, like the two things that you said, just like um, social media and in-person networking, the two things, like as an introvert, like I don't want to play that game, either of those games.
But taking yourself off, into the woods for a walk, because it's good for you as an introvert to spend time alone and get out into nature. No one hears you. So there does come a point where it's like you do have to show up in some way, shape, or form.
Mm.
You just do. And so yeah, we'll talk about how we're doing it now.
Yes. So which one should we take first, online or in person? Where should we go first?
Well, I think I would like you to talk about what you're doing currently about being online as an introvert and promoting business, because it's a very interesting concept that you're working with right now.
Yeah, so for me, like in previous businesses, like there's some parts of social media that I really enjoy. So like keeping in touch with what's happening in friends and families' lives, or making new friends, well, friends in inverted commas, people who you chat to on social media and then you've never met them before in your life. Um and getting all the inspiration from other people, seeing people's creative journeys, all of that stuff. Like I love that about social media. I love the like watching what other people are doing, not necessarily getting involved aspect of social media. Um, and also there's a lot that I dislike about social media. So like, like the whole thing where a lot of this has been talked about a lot with regards to like mental health and that kind of thing, with you know, when you're comparing your behind the scenes, so like the messiness of your life or business or whatever it is, um to the highlight reel of somebody else's. um because you know, we only, well, the vast majority of people only show like the best bits, don't they, on social media? They don't show you the bits where you're like crying in a puddle on the floor, you know, where it's had like a really bad day. Um and there's and the main thing I dislike about social media, especially from, well, from any point of view, but as a business owner, the hoops that you have to jump through um to appease the algorithm, you know, bow down and everybody worship the algorithm. So, and it's like changing seemingly every day, like what the algorithm sees as good, like what it's going to bestow its, you know, you know, what's the word? Whatever on. Um, because I mean, talking about Instagram, which is the one that I mainly use at the moment, it used to be a you know, a still image platform, and then I mean, like you can see what it's doing as a business in itself. It's taking the best bits from every other like platform. So now you could do um Instagram TV. I don't know if that's still a thing actually, which was like the YouTube of Instagram, wasn't it? And like Reels, which is kind of taken from TikTok and all of this kind of stuff. But it's kind of like there's so much as a business owner to keep up with,
Mm.
and like to know what is like the best thing, the most favored thing by the algorithm on any given day. Um, which, and it's just, that's not even like to grow your account, your following. That's just to get people who actively chose to follow you to see your posts. And that really annoys me. And then when I was looking at the like numbers within my business, in my previous business that I had for 15 years, um, like social media was never brought that much traffic to my website. With my website, there was lots of other places that were bringing traffic to the site, and social media was like way down the list. Um, so that kind of got me thinking this year, the beginning of this year, it's like, do you actually need social media to market your business as a small and micro business? Because when you think about like in this day and age, marketing your business, the first thing that probably comes to your mind is social media. Because that's, you know, what everybody talks about, social media marketing, marketing your business on social media. You know, that's like the go-to thing, where there's so much more that is more introvert friendly as well, I'd say, because social media is such an extrovert world with like lives and TikTok dancing and whatever else you're doing and pointing at the screen, hoping that the words appear where you want, you want them to appear on your reels, which just does not appeal to me in any way. Um, so now I'm exploring like the other things, and it's quite interesting because my new business is very new, so like 3 months old. So my website is only 3 months old. So it's interesting to put in all these things play in place um, from the beginning and seeing the change in um, the traffic sources on the website analytics. And it gets a bit geeky. I do like that bit. I like looking at the numbers and the data and all of that kind of stuff. Um, so I'm currently doing that for this year, is my goal, to by the end of the year to not have to use social media to market my business. And it's not like, I mean, I'm calling it going social media free. Um, but it's not necessarily getting rid of social media altogether, but not relying on it for business, I
Yeah, I
think.
think one of the things about that struck me quite some time ago now was our wonderful friend Jan Kearmas. And Jan is all about geeking out anything to do with technology, isn't she? She's
She
just
is.
such a whiz at it. And it was a comment that she made about if someone pulled the plug on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, whichever platform you're using, and there seem to be more and more of them, but there are some that are very big. If suddenly Facebook had to be closed down or Instagram was closed down and you had put all your time and effort into growing your business that way and it went, what would you do? And I was
Mm,
just like, oh, and she's like, you have to have a website of some sort because that's all your content in one place so that
yeah.
you know where it is, you know what that looks like. And this new business that you have really serves that purpose. So you understand your own brand and your identity, and your website represents that. And I hadn't thought of it like that until Jan said that. And it was such a matter of fact thing that she said. I'm like, oh, I know so little about this world of technology. And I thought, yeah, it's far too easy to be drawn into that trap, really, of thinking that every single day, and some people seem to put things out there like 5 times a day on
Mm,
social media, that you put all your time and effort into that, and you could be blocked. They might decide they don't like your content, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. And if you have focused entirely on social media and it's gone, then
mm,
what are you going to do?
yeah.
And I just thought, yeah. And I loved what you're doing this year, this looking at how can you grow your business. And I think as an introvert, this is such a wonderful way to go. It doesn't, like you say, involve having to put together reels and things like that. I don't know if you can hear the noise in the background, but if you can, apologies, keeping it real. This is, working from home. This is what it's like. Um, and having that understanding of how a website can work with you and for you, I think is really important. I do think that there's been such a shift towards social media that it's almost like if you're not present on that, you're not doing it right.
Mm.
And personally, I don't think there's a right or a wrong. I just think you've got to work out who you are and what is going to work for you.
I think with social media marketing, there's a lot of FOMO. So like the
Yeah.
fear of missing out. It's like
Yeah.
you might see a post and like this person, this account is like grown X amount in like 30 days or whatever. And it's like getting so many um business inquiries in this time. And it's like, okay. And there's a lot of that kind of, oh, I should be doing that. I should be doing that. Why isn't this working for me? And all of that kind of thing. And I think, and it's like nothing against the people who use social media to market their business. If it works for them, great. It does not work for me. And I am not one of those people who wants to be just on that treadmill of content creation. Like I post something when I feel like I've got something to say or something to share. Um, and it's when I get into that, oh, but you have to post so many times a week and all of that kind of stuff. And that's when I get into that overwhelm or underwhelm with social media. And it's when actually when I'm putting content out for content's sake is when my reach drops, when my engagement drops. Because I think you can kind of feel like the energy, can't you? When you're sharing a post where you're really offering value, you've got something that you want to share, that you want to say. Um, I think people can kind of pick up on that, but when you're just kind of putting a post out because, oh, I haven't done anything today, and it's like however many days since the last posted, I should put something out. I think people can feel that as well.
Yeah, I have a thing that there's pros and against either way from what I've heard. I don't know
Yeah.
how true any of this is, but that you should be putting yourself in front of people all the time so that they like they get to know you. and
Mm.
then they recognize you, blah blah blah. But then there's the other side of it, that like that that less content equals hunger for more of it,
Mm.
especially if your content is information based. And so again, I don't see that there's a right or wrong. One of the things I do know is that if a company, say I buy something from them, and suddenly every day I'm being bombarded, on your phone you can set them up to go to spam.
Mm.
You know, and because I've had companies where I've unsubscribed I don't know how many times, and they seem to find a way around it, like,
Yeah.
oh no, these were already scheduled, we're sorry, and it still keeps on coming. And it's just like, whoa, this is overkill for
Yeah.
me. And I wonder, is that part of being an introvert, that it's just too much information? It's like, no, I want my space, I don't want to be bombarded. And I'm that person that if I want information on something, I will look for it. I
Mm.
don't know, not being extrovert, do extroverts like to have a lot of information coming at them? Do they
Mm.
want the noise of it? Because let's face it, that's how introverts interact. They want to have a lot of conversation. So does that mean a lot of conversation to them? Or
Mm.
is it just marketing that, they want to be picked up by Google because of this, that, and the other? And I think the other thing about that someone once said to me was, this is to do with algorithms again, is that you can put too much information out there and you can actually be stopped from doing that, because why are you putting so much information on social media? What is that about? I don't know, because I don't understand algorithms. And
Yeah.
like you've said, they change all the time, all the time. Someone else comes on and goes, oh my God, Facebook's now doing this. Oh my God, so and so's now doing that. I don't care. I will just slowly plod like the tortoise my way
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
cabbage patch, and see what I'm is going to work for me.
Yeah. And I think also with social media, and I know it kind of feels like we're bashing social media. We're not, but this is just
No,
like my experience of it. Um, with social media, there's that instant or like short-term effect, isn't there?
yeah,
So like you can put a post out and you can see how many, like within a day, you can see how many people have looked at it, how many people have liked it, how many people have commented, all of that kind of stuff. Whereas like the stuff that I am putting in place um is more of the slow and steady tortoise. Like it's going to take time, which is why I'm still using social media. Like everybody has to have a crutch to fall back on, while they're putting the other things in place. Because like a lot of it is around SEO for your website, which I know like you hear the term SEO, and it's like eye roll. Oh my God, SEO, here we go again. Um, but that takes like a few months to like bed in and for like Google to realize that you're there and all of that kind of stuff. Um, but really, as an introvert, SEO is your best friend because, like you were just saying, like if you want information, you'll go and look for it. And I think that's the time that you want to show up in front of people, not the time where they're just like scrolling because they're bored through social media and there's like, oh, this person's doing this. Oh, I don't need that now. Oh, but maybe I'll remember that when I'm looking for something like that. And do they remember? Do you remember?
no,
No. But so the point that you want to get in front of people is when they're in that point where they're like, I'm looking for a solution, and they're typing into Google or other search engine, but let's be real, it's Google. They own like 90 odd percent of
what
the
other
search
search
engine.
engines are
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, they own like 90 odd percent of the search industry, whatever it's called. Um, yeah, when they are typing their problem or the solution they're looking for into Google search bar, that's when you want to show up in front of them. Um, so like as an introvert, that takes away all of the pressure of showing up on social media or wherever. And it's like, oh, I can just be here like waiting until they're looking for me. And then I can be like, here I am,
Mm,
and like show up in front of them. Um, and like going back to what you're saying about having a website, this is where it's really important. Because if you think about like, let's go back old school business where you'd have a shop on the high street. Um, and that would be like your um domain, wouldn't it? That'd be like your place, that's your business. And if somebody was walking down the high street looking for something in particular, they're like, oh, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and they'd go through your front door. And you'd make that premises like the nicest premises you could make it. Like you'd make it beautiful inside, you'd make it so that you'd had lots of signs outside so people knew who you were and what you were doing and all of that kind of stuff. And that's what your website is on the internet. It's just like it's not a physical space, it's a digital space. Um, and that's like, so when I was saying about this year, I'm putting things in place to get away from social media marketing. I'm taking people on the journey with me. So there's a free email series that you can sign up to on my website. Um, and having a website was one of the first things that we talk about, because that's where you want everything to lead to. You want one place on the on the internet that's you, like completely you and your business. Well, I say you, completely your business. Like, let's not make it egotistical here. um, and everything that you do then wants to kind of take people back to your website, and that's what wants to be like your showroom um on the internet. So yeah, if anybody does want to, move away from social media marketing, come over to my website, sammyrainbow.co.uk, and you can sign up for that free email series.
Yeah, I think it's when you first started talking about this, there's lots of things that I hadn't considered that would work for introverts. And it is that whole thing. We are bombarded by the extroverts in this world.
Yeah.
And good luck to them. I tried to be an extrovert for a lot of my life because that's what I grew up with. Extrovert people, extrovert family. I think now when I look back, that was my mum, my dad, not so much. And it's almost that I don't have a fear of missing out. It's just that
Mm,
I should be doing this. Why don't I want to do this? Why aren't I comfortable doing this? And that's where you then start to think you're not confident and you're too shy. It's none of that. I just don't want to do it. I
mm,
just don't. And so to have someone like yourself talking about going social media free in 2023, that rhymes, that's lovely. I think it's just something that I would highly recommend anyone who identifies as an introvert who keeps thinking that they should be doing a TikTok, dancing, whatever, whatever. I don't even know how they get these. I don't even know how they happen. And yet you know that you and your business have an awful lot to offer the world, not just your niche, whatever that might be. Then why not sign up to your free email series and get all the information and
mm.
get going doing that? Put your time and effort into what you know as an introvert will work for you. I think people have got to got to work out who they are and what they're about, because some introverts are so in the middle that
Mm.
they don't know whether they're introvert or extrovert. Well, do what works for you. If you're introverted with certain things about social media, find out what's going to work for you. If
Yeah.
you're more extrovert with things to do with social media, use it. So I
Mm.
don't mind sharing on social media a lot about my life. I haven't done any for a while, I'll be honest. I was wondering if there was a different direction I was going with it, but I think I'm going to go back to I take a lot of photographs on my phone, and that's what I use my phone for mainly. And go back to just putting up a photo a day like I used to. Like you said, it was a still image, wasn't it, when it
Mm.
started? And not worry about whether it's right or wrong. This is what I'm going to use it for. This is what
Yeah.
we have this particular page for. And then one of the things that came to me was that you start a business page to promote your business, but you're only going to get a certain amount of traffic depending on what the algorithms, those wonderful things, allow us to do, because
Mm.
Facebook, Instagram, wherever, they are businesses. So they want to earn money as well. And
Yeah.
so they only give you so much that is free. And then they want you to pay.
Mm.
Understandable. It really is understandable. So yeah, I think promoting one's website in a way that works for your particular nature is a
Mm.
great idea. I really do.
And actually, like the strategies that I'm talking about in this email series and that I'm putting in place for myself, whether you're introvert or extrovert, like they'll be helpful, they'll be beneficial, you know. You
Yeah,
can still use social media and have these things in place, but it's like having that um what we might call like the evergreen
yeah,
marketing going on, as
yeah,
opposed to like a social media post, say on Instagram, has like a 24-hour lifespan. Um, yeah, so it's for anybody, not necessarily. I mean, for
yeah.
introverts,
And
I would
I
definitely
sometimes,
recommend it.
I think sometimes with social media as well, you know, you've seen a post and you want to see it again,
Mm,
and somehow it's disappeared. It's like, where is it? I know I saw this. What have they done with they? I don't know who they are. What have they done with it? And it's like, oh God, I can't be bothered. But if you know someone's got a website,
mm,
similar topics are being discussed through blogs or whatever their work is,
yeah,
then it's so much easier to remember the website or the name of the person and go find them and take a good look at everything they're doing and whether anything that's on their website is actually going to work for you too. So
yeah,
I mean, let's face it, we all look at what other people are doing in order to get ideas and get creative ourselves, even before we're looking to buy a product or a service from someone. So yeah, it's I think personally for me, technology is a minefield, and talking with you, you are simplifying that. You're
mm,
making that walk through that minefield of where should I be? What should I be doing? How do I go about this? I think you're simplifying it really, really well. So
oh,
yay.
thank you.
Thank God. Well, it makes
um
it easy for me to talk to you, so you know.
so so we've talked about online marketing.
Mm,
And I don't know about you, well, I do know about you because we've talked about it a lot. But I don't know about you, dear listener. Um, but I work alone in my business from home. My business is run online. It can get a little bit lonely, is a word, isolated. Even as an introvert who, has some spot on hermit mode, occasionally I feel like I need to speak to real people. So that brings, oh, I don't even want to say the words, in-person business networking
mm.
to mind, doesn't it? And which is actually how you and I met many years ago.
It is many, many years ago. And I just want to say actually, because I remember you started your skincare brand and the setup that you had, the look of it was very different at the time. And it was easy to see that creative design person that you've
Mm,
always been was there. And then you stood up and you did a talk about skin and skincare. And I was like, wow, I would not have thought that you were an introvert doing anything you were doing in business
mm.
until I stepped over to speak to you, and then you were like, "Hmm." Like, "Hmm? What?" Just doing that whole backing away, that whole introvert backing away from someone who was complimenting you, who was like really into what you were talking about and what you were doing, and wanted to carry on the conversation, and you were like, "No." Um, and it's so easy now because there's so much more about introverts out there, thanks to Susan
Mm,
Cain and her work, that I totally get what that was about, totally get what that was like. So yeah, anyway, yeah, we met years and years ago at networking.
yeah. So Denise, tell us how you find, let's, before we talk about what we're doing now,
Mm.
your experience with networking previously.
Um, so for me, working from home isn't an issue. As an introvert, I love being at home. Love it, love it, love it, love it. It's my comfort blanket. As my eldest son once said to me, Mum, you and me, we're house cats. So get it. Yes, this is my comfort zone. And networking, as was, before we talk about what we're doing, was so out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to wear, how I should look. as a woman in business, should I be wearing those, tight fitting suits and little clicky heels and all of that? Whoa, way out, just not me. And then there's that coming into the room, and I tried many different variations on networking. I knew I was never going to be the 5:30 breakfast networker. That was never going to work for me. And I just didn't get why it wasn't working for me. I hated the 60-second pitch, trying to condense everything I believed in and that would work, no matter what avenue of alternative therapy I'd moved into. I had to condense that into 60 seconds and still get the point across and still let people know what and who I was about. Was a nightmare, absolute nightmare for me. All eyes on me in the room. Oh, well, that's a whole other thing. And it was just really uncomfortable. And to say that I got clients from that, I'd be lying.
Yeah.
Until I stepped up to run a group for a local networking group called Biz Mums, which no longer exists since COVID. And I chose to be a host of this group so that I knew that the part of me that had to honor showing up would do. I would drag myself there. It put me in front of people in a way that I just hosted the group. I didn't necessarily have to, I didn't labor anything with it. Everyone who showed up, it was over to them to sell themselves. That wasn't my thing to do. I had a crib sheet so I could follow what was going to happen in the 2 hours that we got together for. And the one thing I hated was keeping everyone to time for their 60 seconds. And it was so obvious that there was all these women. Biz Mums was about women in business who also had children. And so they were isolated a lot of the time. They didn't have anyone else to talk to. They really just wanted to have a chat and to socialize as well as talk about business. They all had great ideas. Some of them were into, what's it called? The marketing, network marketing.
Yeah.
What it's called, where they were working for a company, but it was done through the selling the products through networking, blah, blah, blah. I'm not making that very clear. But what was needed was these women needed connection. And that's partly why I went. And I've made some great friends. We met at networking. Jan Kirmaz, a wonderful woman, met at networking, and so many other people who now I do consider our friends. And that was a massive, that social connection that felt comfortable was important to me. I think I'm all for stepping outside your comfort zone, but when it's way over and it gets stressful and worrying and intimidating, that's not okay for me. Just not okay. That whole working the room and grabbing as many business cards as you can, that you get them home and you look at 10 weeks later and think, what the hell's this?
Yeah.
I can't remember the 60-second pitch. And the representation of the business card wasn't the person you met. So it just didn't fit me. And when COVID came along and we didn't have to do it, I was like, great, don't have to do that one. House cat here. Happy
Like
to sit
I
comfortably at home.
yeah. I mean, like I am one of those people who started going to business networking, and so there was BizMums, and before that there was Green Networking, which is also a local networking group, which also doesn't exist anymore, um, because I wanted the social interaction. It was like a like a coffee morning
Yeah,
where we just so happen to talk about business.
yeah,
Um, and I was I've done other groups. Those are the two main groups that I've been part of. I've also done some like Chamber of Commerce events as well. And the the green networking was definitely created by an introvert. Um and we would just sit around a big table, and you didn't have to move. Once you had your seat, you could just sit there and talk to the people who are like either side of you, which is like introvert zone, like one or two people, great. And I really like, for me, it was like a social thing, and also I did get business out of it, but that was a like a secondary thing for me. I didn't go there to sell.
Mm.
I went, I mean, like I took product samples, obviously, because, with the skincare business at the time. The ones that I didn't like, and these were more like the professional business, shall we to say, networking events that I went to, um, were very pushy. Like people were there to sell to me. And I was like, I've never met you before. I have no idea what your business is. And now you're expecting me to like almost sign on the dotted line like the first time I see you. Um, and it's just very different. Like for me, I don't know if it's because I'm a woman in business. I don't know if it's because I'm an introvert in business, or the combination of the two, or just me. Um, like I want to get to know people first. And I mean, like there's people that I have met through networking groups, through the Biz Mums group, who I've met like month on month on month, and I feel like I know them quite well, who I have not needed their service. But if somebody was looking for what they were doing, I would recommend them like in a heartbeat. Because I know like there's one person in particular I'm thinking of. I know she absolutely loves what she does. And she's really like on it as well. She's really good at it. Um, but it's just not a service that I required. So from that point of view, you might see networking as like as a waste of time for her, because like maybe people in the room didn't buy from her, but like I'll always recommend it. And for me, that's what's important with business connections. It's the connections and the relationships you have with people, um that come first for me. I think that's what's important for me.
I think
I
that's a
don't
very
want
important thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't want to be sold to the first time I meet you.
exactly. I want to make a connection. It's that three
Mm,
words, know, like, trust, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, I want to learn about what you do, like other people's businesses and why they got into it, like endlessly fascinating.
Endlessly. Yeah, it's like, ooh, tell me more. And that's where, as an introvert, if we can get on a one-to-one basis with someone and we go,
Mm,
tell me more, it gives them the permission to literally talk about what they're doing, but in
mm.
a way that's not pushy, like you've said.
Yeah,
It's
and it's in a way
conversation.
of it's also in the way of like we're asking the questions. So like as an introvert, if you're asked a question, it's easier to give an answer and say what you're doing than just like give your pitch,
Yeah.
like without anybody like, ask. You kind of sort of like need to tease it out a little bit, don't you? Because like I remember with my skincare business, I used to do markets and events and showcases and all of that kind of stuff. And like you kind of think of, like the traditional market traders where they're shouting and like how much their apples are today and all of that kind of stuff. Like I would not be able to do that. But somebody comes up to ask about a product, or have I got a product for such and such? And like, oh my God, I can get in such a conversation about that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's interesting um how like just involve an introvert in a conversation about something that they are interested in, and like you wouldn't know they were an introvert, would you?
No,
Because they'd just be like, talk your head off.
no. So talking of getting introverts together, you wouldn't know once you've got what 8 to 10 in a room, as we've been doing, they were introverts. Oh my God,
Mm,
the noise can be off the charts. And it's that whole recognizing what it's like as an introvert to not enjoy small talk,
mm,
to have someone else in the room that gets you, and that's part of what we're creating with our form of networking, which is enrichment networking for what, how do you put it, for introverts and gentle souls in
yeah.
business. So say something about that, Sami.
So after the whole COVID, and like you were saying before, like COVID's here, we're not allowed out, we don't have to go business networking. Way. And also, you know, as business women, business owners, um, we need to tell people about our businesses. Um, so we we had this conversation, multiple conversations, I'm going to say,
Yeah.
about business networking, and we were looking to get back into doing networking and which groups might be a good fit and what's going on in the area already. And they were like, if we don't like traditional business networking, I bet there's other people who don't like it. What if we just invited some people and like
Yeah.
um so that's kind of how it started. And so now enrichment networking is a thing in our area. So we've got our Chester group, which is our flagship group. I quite like that term, makes us
Mm.
sound all professional. Um, we've got a Bebington group, and we will soon have, well, soon as we record this, in July of 2023, we will have our Harden group as well, first North Wales group. Um, and what I love about enrichment networking is that there's no pressure. There's no pressure to dress a certain way, like you were saying about like your business suits and high heels. You're not going to get me in them. I've got like my woolly jumper, jeans, and boots on. That's what I do. Um, yeah, so there's no pressure to look a certain way, no pressure to have your 60-second pitch perfected. There's no timing of anything. No alarms will go off. And it's just a way of what I love about it is like the gentleness of sharing your business, who you are and what you do, um, without being timed. I mean, we only ever have 10 tickets on sale for a meeting. So the groups are small, which also I think really works well because you're not feeling like you've missed out if you haven't talked to a certain person. We're all around the same table. We all get to have conversation about each other's businesses. And what I like is like one person will introduce themselves and their business, and then we'll have like a conversation about that with the group, and then we'll move on to the next person. And it's that, like you were saying before, how do you um, get all of the energy of what it is that you do into 60 seconds? Well, this is where we get to learn more about the person and why they do what they do and how they do what they do. And it's just, I just like grinning as I was saying, it's just like a really nice environment to be in.
It really is. It's a very supportive environment for women to come together. And what starts to happen is that there's just no judgment, is there?
Mm,
It's like, I get you, I see you, I hear you, I understand where you're coming from. You know, we're all working on our own in business, in our own businesses. You and I
mm,
collaborate with this. And it can feel like you're just not getting it right.
yeah,
And yet you come to a group like ours and we're like, wow, you've done that. And it's that whole never acknowledging what you've already done. We're always looking for what we haven't done yet.
yeah,
You mean you did a talk? That's amazing. Because it is to stand up in front of people, to organize it as a person on your own with your own business, to then show up, do the talk, to go away again, and to actually congratulate yourself and then follow up with people is amazing. It
mm,
really is. And yet, when I used to go to networking, it was just like, oh yeah, well, I've done 3 talks this week. It's like, oh,
yeah,
okay. You know, but that's the difference, isn't it? Introverts can't necessarily find the energy to do umpteen loads of
mm,
networking in a week and as many talks. Whereas an extrovert, that's their whole world. That's what they prefer to do. One of the things that we have in enrichment networking, because of what we recognize is like to be an introvert, is that as an introvert, it can be difficult to maintain eye contact. And there's such a massive thing about eye contact out in society. If you can't make eye contact, there's something wrong with you. No, actually, you might be more introverted than you realize. And that not making eye contact is just about you thinking what you're going to say, not that it's not a wrongness. And I wish people
mm,
would stop making out that it is. There might be other reasons why you're not making eye contact, but I often tend to look away from someone because I'm just focusing in on what's going on in my brain and my body before I open my mouth. So, one of the things that we offer is colouring in. Oh my God, colouring in is so good for an introvert. It's just like comfort blanket. And I have this whole thing about this type of networking we're encouraging is that sense of going, oh yeah, I belong here. This is
Mm.
these women are my women. They get me, they understand me. And so we offer colouring in so that you can listen, which is what introverts are very good at. And then you don't even have to look up from your colouring in to then offer something as part of the discussion that comes out of what a person says. I love it. Yeah.
And I
It's all
think
good stuff.
what you were just saying about, um, celebrating each other, like you was giving the example of somebody doing a talk. I really like it's not competitive in any way.
No.
Um, we do celebrate each other. We do offer support. So I always describe it like there's four aspects to the group that I think. For me, there's the social bit. It's like a coffee morning, I love that bit. There's the business networking, sharing your business, what you do. There's the support group, and there's the masterminding aspect of it. So if you've got a problem, I always say, like, if you've got a problem, bring it to the group and have, like, because, we're working on our own in our own businesses. Like, some might have small teams, but, when do you get that opportunity to have a group of women who get you, as an introvert, get you as a woman in business, and probably at some point have had the similar sort of experience. Um, and that I really like that because it's collaborative while we're all in our own businesses. Um, and also, like you were saying, like there's no pressure to have it all together. Like
No, not
we
at
don't
all.
expect you to be like have the perfect business and be the perfect business owner.
No.
Um, because we all come up against stuff.
Yeah. And the last group meeting that we had ladies who hadn't even started a business,
Mm,
because they were looking to, well, what do I do? Where do I start?
yeah.
To the point that one lady had no idea what she was going to do.
Mm,
It was just, this was a group of introverted women she identified as a chatty introvert, which I love. And yeah, she told us what her life was like, and she was stuck and she wanted to do something else. So in some ways, a group like that one, I just hope she left feeling inspired to go and
mm,
look for what she might want to do in the next chapter of her life. Because that, to me, is all part of supporting other women. And it's
yeah.
so important for me to feel that women leave my presence, whether it's as an individual one-to-one coaching or whether it's in a group setting, feeling that bit more empowered to go and seek what's right for her. So
Yeah.
important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of time women, like a huge generalization, and careful how I say this, will have a tendency to play small in business.
Yeah.
Um, and like I feel that we should never have to play small.
Mm.
Um, I mean, if you just want to have your business as like a sideline, like I'm all for that. Like I did that, that's how my skincare business started. I was still employed for many years before I did that full time. Um, and also I feel that if you do have big plans, if big ambitions, then having that support network behind you can only be helpful to you. Um, so as I have no idea how long we've been talking.
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe this would be a good time to wrap up.
Are
One of
we
the
done?
nearly, we are nearly done, and we're going to come back to this next week. And that is one of the things that we recognise as women is our cycles as women. And one of the things we encourage women to do is to follow their cycle or the cycle of the actual moon to see just what their energy's like throughout that excuse me 28-day period. And
Mm,
we are going to come back next time to talk about this. And Sami and I work with this together. We have this understanding of how this cycle affects us and how we, at different times of the month, are way more sociable, and at other times of the month, there is no way that comfort blanket is coming off. It's just not leaving my body.
No.
So if you'd like to know more about how we work with that as women and how we encourage the women who come to our groups to work with it as well, because it's not just about you, it's about your business as well. How can you grow your business and be a woman with everything that goes on for us as women that men don't experience to the same degree that we do? Then why not join us next time, where we'll talk more about that. What we call it,
Yes.
Sami? Business by
Business
the moon.
by the moon.
Yeah.
Yes. So, are we done? Shall I do a roundup?
I think it's perfect.
Um, just to remind you that you have been listening to Talking to Introverts with myself, Sami Blackford, and my co-host.
Denise Oliver.
And today we've been talking about how to share your business as an introvert and what can be introvert friendly marketing. So enrichment networking, we have said that we've got 3 groups well, very nearly 3 groups as we record this. If you would be interested in hosting a group in your area, do get in touch with either myself or Denise. We will have links to find us in the description below this podcast. And let's see if we can spread the introvert-friendly networking nationwide.
Oh yes, come on, introverts, let's unite gently.
Introverts uprising, gently and quietly.
Don't
um,
tell anyone. Not quite a secret, but you know.
So thank you for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye
Bye bye for
bye.
now.
Bye.